It's difficult to believe that my friendship with Asher started almost 5 years ago in a summer Ready Set Go course just before 8th grade. With his unusually tall height, lankiness, and overall awkwardness, I didn't really like him at first. But looking back on it now, I realize that back then, Asher and I were exactly alike. Now, he and I have practically grown up together out of that initial awkward phase. Asher, I'll always remember the many triumphs and defeats we've shared, like when you set a huge cross country PR alongside Ethan Rossler and dreamed that you drank tea with Buddha. Or how you suffered from multiple knee and shoulder injuries and also auto failed your driver's test because of one uncontrolled intersection. From cross country and Summerfest to the China trip and Chicago, it's been an adventure and there's so much more in store. Introducing Asher Rafkin.
Things change over time, and while this might not be news to anyone else, it was certainly news to me. Since I arrived at USM in 8th grade, pretty much everything about me had changed. I got taller, changed my hair, and stopped wearing cowboy boots. The usual stuff. But up until a quarter of the way through my junior year, one thing hadn't changed, and that was my self-confidence. As cheesy as it sounds, I was completely paranoid about everything I did, especially when it came to school. I would get physically sick on the days I had math and Spanish, mainly because, out of fear, I'd let my understanding of the subject matter slip, and it all tended to snowball to the point where I would begin shaking whenever I was called on. This led me to avoid these subjects at all costs, and consequently, my grades in these classes slipped even further. The lowest point in my high school career, so far, was my midterms in the first semester of my junior year, when I sat comfortably at a 2.6 GPA. This struck a nerve in me, as in that half semester I'd begun to notice that my answers that I never put down or kept to myself were usually right. I began to trust myself a little more each day, and my grades shot up, hitting a 3.07 for my first semester final and 3.7 for my second semester final. Right now I am sitting at a 3.86, and aside from the renewed faith in my abilities, I attribute this to two things. The first is the resources from the school that have been available to me, the most important of which is undoubtedly Miss Green, who has been instrumental in helping me achieve my current work ethic. However, one must give credit where credit is due, and I believe that the second reason is the fact that I enacted all of the changes that got me to where I am today. I understand that this sounds rather narcissistic of me, but I've noticed that these days people are so quick to attribute their success, or mainly failure, to things other than themselves, and they forget that ultimately they are the final step in that process of enacting change in their lives. While yes, others may have pleaded with me to try harder and boost my grades, at the end of the day, it was me who got those grades up. A teacher could put all of the materials for a test in my hands, and it would mean nothing if I had not decided to utilize them. What I am trying to convey is that no one can help you if you're not willing to help yourself. You must give credit to yourself and realize that while it is nice to have the resources available, and that they rightfully deserve some of the praise, you are responsible for getting yourself where you are. I used to be so worried about getting a question wrong that I chose never to answer, which led to me never getting the feedback I needed. I thought it humiliating to get a simple question wrong in math. But as I began to trust myself more, I found that in the grand scheme of things, being worried over something so small is pointless. Sometimes you have to reorient yourself and realize that ultimately, your role in this world is pretty small and you are ultimately relatively insignificant. So in the pursuit to make something of yourself, you'd be doing yourself a great disservice by getting paranoid over little things such as whether or not you'll answer a question right. I can almost guarantee you won't remember getting that question wrong in a week's time. So what if someone laughs at you if you do get a question wrong? That's one person in a world of 7.6 billion other people. And frankly, it's sad if you dwell in that situation for more than 2 minutes. In short, I believe 3 things are key to living your best life. I believe you absolutely must give yourself credit, that you have to trust yourself, and you must learn to disregard what others think. Being a human being, our time is not long for this world, and you can't spend all of that time thinking about the 30-second interaction you had back in your junior year that ruined your day.
I've known Ben Lennickman for the past year. He is a very good friend, and he's also very hardworking. He's someone who I can rely on a lot, and he's also someone who I know that I can do anything with. And he's really good with the ladies. Introducing Ben Lennickman.
Since I have been a little child, I've always been fascinated by the notion of starting my own business and the way that it would change the trajectory of my life. Specifically, I'd always had an interest in sneakers, whether it be the most sought after sneakers or the most formal sneakers. I'd always had a passion for sneakers. Looking back to as early as first grade, I would routinely come home from school and storm the internet to see the latest and coolest sneakers. It would come to a point where I would just start to create and elaborate advertisements that I would come and show off to all my teachers and friends at school the next day. While my 5-year-old self reflects on my mere desire to show off all my cool sneaks, I had always been enamored at the notion of starting a business to eventually achieve the American dream. Reflecting on my early childhood through my teenage years, I recognized the struggles I had overcome in the course of my life. As my family had been immigrants from Russia, my parents were able to settle down and make nothing of themselves, but their lack of education in America still significantly affected our personal education. As the first language I ever learned was Russian, it was hard to adjust to an English-speaking environment. This is what motivated me to start my own business, reselling sneaker business, which caters to nearly every cultural background in Milwaukee. By starting this business, I'm able to express a lot more of what I truly learned throughout my life rather than explaining and showing what I learned as a student. It is truly a unique experience to see a childhood passion revitalized by a need to migrate my family's struggles. While I'm now expanding my business ventures to open a shoe store in the coming weeks and getting my real estate license when I turn 18, I truly recognize the fact of not having a formal education from my family's experience. My experiences have transformed my outlook on education by switching to USM in my late high school career, and now, as a prospective first-generation college student, I am in the process of altering my own destiny. Building my business has taught me the importance of interpersonal relations and communication skills, and through my involvement in my school, it has truly taught me that if you want to achieve something, you have to go and do it. I am able to embrace the necessary skills, and I will need to further my business ventures in life and learn the key components of a complete education. Being able to nullify my family's migration struggles through my business has acted as a catalyst, reigniting my motivation to receive my education while I'm trying to change the trajectory of my life through embracing new challenges and opportunities as a first-generation student. I will always be motivated by my desire to achieve something that I've been told that I couldn't do. I'm excited to take the next steps in my life of opening up my first sneaker store. I hope that one day to be able to inspire those in my shoes to embrace their challenges and embark on a journey to change the course of history.
We are here to introduce our amazing little sister, Fina. Fina, you've always been such a bright light in our family, and we could not be more proud of you.
And even though you're the youngest of the four of us, you have the oldest and sweetest soul. We can't wait to see what you can accomplish and what next fringe hobby you get into.
Introducing the Tweedledee to my Tweedledum, the he started it to my it wasn't me, the black belt to my white belt, the syrup to my cinnamon toast. Fina Durant.
What's yellow, square, and lives in a pineapple under the sea? That's right, none other than SpongeBob SquarePants. Hearing the name is like music to my ears. It brings light to my heart and a smile to my face. Just close your eyes and imagine. It's Saturday morning. Your dad is in his boxers ferociously crafting an omelet. Your mom is picking up a mix of your siblings and the dog's mess from the night before. Your brothers are wrestling on the couch to see who has the most muscle. And your sister is painting her nails a bright shade of royal blue while Skyping her friends to gossip about just how hot Taylor Lautner from Twilight is. Amongst the chaos of everyone's Saturday morning, you pause, set down your dad's BlackBerry that you were playing Brick Breaker on, and grab the TV remote, turning the power button on. Nickelodeon green slime plasters the screen, and 2 minutes later, knowing that a joyous yellow sponge and pink star would be on the TV, everyone comes to a calm, slowly meandering their way to the couch in last night's jammies. Many parents view the show about this certain undersea sponge who makes a living as a fry cook in Bikini Bottom as an utter abomination to society, refusing to let their kids watch it in fear it would rot their brains to smithereens. However, my parents embraced it. But why? How could two adults allow such irresponsible behavior? Although SpongeBob appears to be nothing more than brain rot, my parents looked past the utter stupidity and looked at the positive ways it could affect our lives and the lessons it could teach us. First, it taught me to have fun, be silly, and frolic through the fields the same way SpongeBob and Patrick do with jellyfish catching nets in hand. I believe I can attribute my lighthearted and quirky personality to the show because it showed me that nothing is ever as serious as it seems. I learned to be creative and to use my imagination, even when it feels like I'm surrounded by four walls of a cardboard box. It has taught me to work hard doing what I love, the same way SpongeBob devotes every day to making Krabby Patties at the Krusty Krab. To enjoy the little pointless things that make my day so much better, like blowing bubbles, and to find a positive light in everything I do. While all these lessons shaped my life, the one that played the most critical role was SpongeBob's rule of thumb. You can't spell fun without friends. SpongeBob is the most loyal and kind friend to the other sea creatures in Bikini Bottom. He does everything for others around him and branches into his community, creating a strong network. After years of watching the show, I have realized that many of the attributes of SpongeBob's closest companions match those of my family members. If I am SpongeBob, then my oldest brother Nico is Plankton. He always seems to have a secret plan, being witty and intelligent, but also a bit mischievous. Sophie, my sister, is Squidward, the neighbor next door who, despite frequent bickering, still maintains a deep love and appreciation for SpongeBob. Matthias, my second brother and Goofy Goober partner in crime. Patrick, the undersea star who will never leave my side. My mom, Sandy Cheeks, super intelligent, supportive, and strong, living far from home and with a slight accent. My dad, Mr. Krabs, a man with a hard shell and many tales of his youth and the hardest work ethic known to mankind. Those Saturday mornings, surrounded by my family and the characters of the show, I realized the most important lesson from SpongeBob was not just the benefits of staying lighthearted, but the importance of those around me, the ones who always stay by SpongeBob's side no matter what. Maybe it isn't the show I love so much, but the warm feeling of all of us gathered together on the couch, laughing and being together. Turning on the TV to see the yellow sponge and hearing the world's most identifiable laugh still brings a warm feeling and a reminder that, like SpongeBob, I always have my buddies to love and support me, my family. Although I may be 18 years old, soon to enter college and start a new chapter of my life, I'll always remember to slow down, take a minute to turn on the TV like those mornings, and remember everything it taught me, and I encourage you to do the same. To love and appreciate those around you, and to not take life too seriously. Thank you.
Entering high school, I genuinely believed I was going to be the only new freshman on the girls' swim and dive team. I was the only one to show interest in the sport in 8th grade, and I'd already come to terms with this reality when I arrived at the preseason ice cream social. It's for this reason that you can imagine my surprise when I saw a little blonde girl at the event who looked just about, if not more, nervous than I felt. While all I learned about her was that she was a new USM freshman named Mira, I was simply glad that I was going to have someone by my side during the season. I couldn't have predicted that this truth would extend beyond the pool as well. Whether blasting music whenever she'd give me rides our junior year, going on various adventures with our friends Maggie and Kira, accepting that I will always tease her for her interesting pronunciation of certain vowels, or just being there to have random conversations that are quite funny to look back on, I found a friendship with Mira that I never knew I needed and can't imagine being without. While I already know she's going to continue doing incredible things in the future, I can't wait to see all the lives she impacts with her dedication to and genuine care for others. She left her mark on the swim team, and she left her mark on me too. Introducing the Maggie to my Maggie, Mira Getting Giles Pufall.
Hi everyone, my name is Mira Giles Pufall, and it might surprise most of you to learn that I didn't have a traditional school experience until 9th grade. Do you kids have off school today? Was a common question that followed me and my siblings around wherever we went for the 10 years that we homeschooled. Our usual response, "No, we're homeschooled," was met with a variety of expressions, but mostly confused or disappointed. By middle school, I felt embarrassed answering these questions because of the preconceived notions that people had about homeschoolers, socially awkward weirdos. When I eventually enrolled here at USM, the assumptions didn't stop. I have often heard remarks such as, "Oh, but you're so normal," upon saying that I was homeschooled. I laugh at comments like that, happy to explain the variety of homeschooling experiences and perspectives that filled my childhood. One perspective I gained was the idea of lifelong learning, where education is voluntary, constant, and self-motivated. I was encouraged to explore and research my own interests beyond typical core classes. Every few weeks, my siblings and I would leave the local library with a slew of books carefully stacked in canvas tote bags, eager to explore topics ranging from ancient mythology to origami. The no-pressure style of education made school and learning more relevant and enjoyable. In addition to lifelong learning, homeschooling taught me to value the experiences that occur beyond a book or classroom. For my family, experiences such as these mostly focused on the environment and sustainability. For example, one goal I had was to visit all of the U.S. national parks. My family had the opportunity to take many camping trips to a multitude of the parks, which was more meaningful than anything I could have read in a book. Closer to home, the value of experimental learning played out in a similar way. My interest in monarch butterflies inspired a perennial garden in my backyard. A visit to an urban farm led to homemade worm bins, and my love of raptors prompted me to volunteer at the Schlitz Audubon Nature Center for several years. There is so much learning to be done outside of school, and I encourage all of you to find a passion that will allow you to do so. Most importantly, my experience homeschooling instilled the importance of community and acceptance. The homeschool group I belonged to varied in religion, political beliefs, and homeschooling philosophies. And yes, many were socially awkward according to social norms. Yet the group was cohesive. I learned, volunteered, and hung out with everyone in this group, despite our differences, something I've tried to continue here at USM. I've been intentional in bouncing around different groups, including going from a freshman talking to seniors to a senior getting along with freshmen. These various groups have made my high school experience an absolute joy, which I would not change for the world. To all the students with time left at USM, and to my classmates leaving for college, I encourage you to branch outside of your usual social groups. You might be granted the opportunity of learning from others, becoming more compassionate, or even giving a richer understanding of the world. Thank you.
John, I, as well as our whole family, are so proud of the young man that you've become. It's hard to convey how much of an impact you've made on my life over the years we've been brothers. Despite the fact that you are 7 years younger than me, you are one of the most mature, charismatic, and thoughtful people I have ever known, and I've always considered you my closest friend. Ever since you could talk, I've had the privilege of watching you light up every room you are in with your impeccable wit. I know your strong character will carry you forth with great success and happiness in the next chapter of your life. However, if I could offer you any advice, it would be to trust in yourself and have faith that whatever cards you are dealt, you will play your best hand and may find victory even in the smallest of odds. Likewise, when the wind is at your back, let it fill your sails and carry you onward. There's nothing wrong with taking time to enjoy the world around you. You will always have a friend in me, and I cannot wait to see you to continue to grow and expand your horizons.
I'm John Walters. Life is full of small and big events that shape us into the people we are today. Whether the event is as small as a test in school or as big as winning the state championship in a sport, we continue to move on. In today's era, our generation has been taught to keep our feet on the gas pedal and quickly move on from one event to the next. I often find myself with little free time, rushing from school to sports practice and later back to homework. However, it's the little things in between these life-changing events that allow us to reflect and learn from these important experiences. Reflecting on these events is not only important to me for learning, but it's also a time of peace that allows me to feel proud for what I've done, no matter the outcome. For me, a lot of this reflection happens while I'm on a boat fishing. From a very young age, fishing has been an important hobby of mine, not only due to the thrill of catching a monster fish, but also the peaceful experience of being on a boat with the people you love and the conversations that take place. This experience reached new heights when I went to Canada with my extended family for our annual fishing trip for the first time, a 40-year-old tradition for all the males in the family. Life felt like it was in slow motion, and there was nothing in the world for me to worry about. I was surrounded by my family with no phone or connection to the rest of the world for a week, and the only job I had was to go fishing. My 10-year-old mind for the first time had time to relax and soak in the vibrant nature around it, rather than focusing on a test the next day or a big lacrosse tournament over the summer. Despite my uncle thinking I wasn't prepared enough to go to a foreign country without my brother or father, and our dinners consisting of fish for an entire week, which I had never eaten before, about midway through the week, I had already become a poker master, robbing my cousins of dollar bills and quarters. I found a new love for eating fish, something I never knew I enjoyed.
Today, I have the great joy of introducing my sister, Margaret Rankin. If you haven't had the opportunity to meet her, Margaret is one of the most humble, fun-loving, creative, and hardworking people you will ever meet. From riding Space Mountain 4 times in a row to get that perfect souvenir photo, to Nug Night after Tech Week rehearsals, she will always accept an adventure with a smile on her face. During her time in the upper school, Margaret has remained dedicated to the theater program as the leader of the Thespian Society. I am so proud of her hard work. Margaret is a resilient and kind leader whose efforts have made USM a better place for all members of the community. It is now my pleasure to introduce my sister, Margaret Rankin.
I believe that by this point, it's safe to make the assumption, without exaggeration, that I've seen the movie The Parent Trap about 15 times. Now, the original film is a classic, but the 1998 remake with Lindsay Lohan will forever remain its superior successor. For those who have not yet experienced this movie, I'll provide a brief synopsis. 2 identical girls, Hallie and Annie, meet at a summer camp where they discover they're twins, separated as a part of their parents' divorce. They then swap their identities in a scheme to reunite their parents and unify the family. It's a classic romantic comedy with mischievous poker games, witty comebacks, and an all-around happy ending. However, despite my deep enthusiasm for the movie, I honestly can't remember the first time I saw it. Most likely, its DVD was a quick stocking stuffer one Christmas in 2011, but regardless, my modest interest in The Parent Trap soon grew into a fervent obsession. I watched this movie constantly. I can remember so vividly sneaking the family's DVD player and headphones into the car with me before leaving for lower school. I would then watch The Parent Trap in 5-minute installments every morning during the short drives from our Mequon home to USM until enough school days had elapsed to complete the 128-minute runtime. Of course, these plans were foiled the moment my parents discovered why the back seat had grown unusually quiet, and the DVD was consequently hidden in the glove compartment to suppress my manic behavior. I wish I was embellishing this part of the story, but my embarrassment and the exasperation from my parents are too glaring in my memory to disregard. As I got older, my taste in movies grew with me, and I found myself watching The Parent Trap fewer and fewer times each year. However, I just rewatched it this past summer, and while it's been a few years, I can still confidently recite every line and hum along to the music of the montages. To this day, my family has no idea how a human being can rewatch something so many times and not ever get bored by it. And frankly, I'm not really sure why I worship the movie as much as I did. I have no concrete connection to the characters. My parents are married. I was always too introverted for sleepaway camp. And I don't have a twin sister living halfway around the world. But despite this disparity, I sat enthralled by these characters day after day. Each time I pressed play, I experienced emotion undiluted from my boredom or its seeming monotony. Sure, I knew in the end The Parent Trap would succeed, and the Parker James family would reunite after all, but that's precisely why I liked it. My joy came not from the anticipation of suspenseful plot points, but the comfort and calm of its reliability. The Parent Trap had become a blissful well of nostalgia. For 128 minutes, I could revisit a world which I knew and loved, a world where I could foresee every moment, knowing each one would never disappoint. Recently, I've been longing for this kind of comfort and predictability from days when we didn't wear masks, and I'd be presenting this to an audience instead of reading it alone for a camera lens. I'm nostalgic for our old life, but I'm more nostalgic for that control, for the grounding ability to at least vaguely predict what life will look like in the coming months, to know which scene is next in the movie and at which line our conflict will start to resolve itself. But while it's comforting to look back upon things that had been, it's gratifying to focus instead on what lies ahead, on the things that can and will be. I will finish this speech and graduate from USM in May. We can surmount the distress and difficulty of this moment, and I will rewatch The Parent Trap once again before we do.